Summer is a time when we feel like it's supposed to feel more relaxed, and yet somehow you've noticed everyone in your house is sleeping worse. Your kids are up later, wired past midnight, and then melting down by noon. And you are finally getting to bed, but you're waking up more, you're sleeping lighter, and then you're dragging yourself through the mornings that feel harder than they did in March, even though you had the craziness of school going on. Here is what I know before we get into this. I want to just share this. A full overhaul is not what your body needs right now. And honestly, it's really not what your kids' bodies need either. What works in the summer when schedules are loose, when the sun is out until 9, and the whole rhythm of the house has shifted is something smaller. We're talking about just one small shift. And today I'm going to tell you what that is. Let's get started.
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
Okay, friends, I mentioned the one small thing to help with your sleep. And today I want to tell you about one small thing that has actually changed my sleep. Because I think this can be a really good example of showing you what that one small change or that 1% change in your sleep habits can look like. So for me, what it looked like whenever I realized I'm struggling a bit with sleep was paying attention to what my Oura ring was actually showing me. So I track my sleep data pretty consistently with that. And what I noticed was a clear pattern around the temperature in our house and also just me in general. So whenever I was getting too warm, my sleep quality would drop. I would be more restless. I'm not really getting into those deeper stages of sleep the way that I should be. And the fix for me was really simple. It wasn't complicated. It was just making sure, obviously, we have a fan running at night and then also wearing cooler clothing to bed. And that was it. But what I noticed was seeing the data for me, it helped me to take it seriously instead of just pushing through it or ignoring it. So that's my 1% or one small habit that I'm doing. It's not a new routine. It's not a new protocol. It's not a bunch of supplements. It's just a fan and then making sure I'm dressing cool enough for what my body was already trying to tell me, which is you're getting too warm and you're not sleeping well. Okay, I tell you that because I think most of us are looking for like this really big fix. We want like a whole sleep program. We need to completely overhaul our nighttime routine or like a stack of supplements. And sometimes the thing that is going to move the needle most consistently is just a small specific thing for you. So what is it, the specific thing for you? And that is what that one small change can look like. Okay, so this is what I want to cover today. There are two parts to this. First, I want to talk a little bit about your sleep. And then I also want to talk about your child's sleep, specifically if you have a neurodivergent child, because if you do, you likely know that there are challenges when it comes to sleep for neurodivergent kids. Not all, obviously, but for a lot of them there are. And I know we have experienced that in our house. And the mood in the house is just so much better when everyone is sleeping. I think we can all agree with that. Okay, so I want to talk specifically about the summer though, just because that's the season we are in. And I do think it has its own unique challenges. Not that the other times of the year don't also have challenges, but let's talk about the unique challenges that come with summer. So we know that your nervous system and your circadian rhythm are both taking hits during the summer from things that weren't necessarily happening in February. And knowing what those are, I think can be really helpful in helping you to pinpoint and really target that one adjustment to your sleep pattern or routines or whatever that you want to make. Okay, so the first one is going to be light. The sun is usually going down 8:30 or 9 o'clock, which means your body isn't getting that darkness cue as early that's going to trigger melatonin. Your brain is still reading the daylight as, okay, it's daytime, and it's going to delay and push back that whole wind down process. This is why you can be completely exhausted at night and then still not able to fall asleep because your body is getting that signal later. Now, the 1% fix, could this be? The 1% fix for this could be that you're adding blackout curtains to the house. Let's say the main area that you all wind down in. You add some blackout curtains and you close those at night, and then you make sure any kind of lights that you have are more of like an ambered color light. That's going to help your body to get those cues earlier on that it is time to wind down. And it's so funny how this is such a small thing, and I forget sometimes to do it. But what I notice with my own kids is whenever I consistently set the lights down, like turn off lights earlier on in the evening, and if we do have any kind of a light on, it's more of an amber color light. It's so funny how they wind down so much faster. And so again, this is not some kind of crazy new overhaul you have to do. It's just one simple thing. Now, another thing you could also try, which I personally do this and I love it, is wearing a sleep mask. If your kids will wear it, that's great. It can help them. I personally find, for me, my kids probably wouldn't keep one on, but I wear one and I absolutely love it. It helps me so much because again, it's getting daylight. Like the sun is rising often around like 5:30, 5:45 here. So for us, getting a little bit of extra sleep with that sleep mask, it's been really helpful for me anyway. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is the shift in your circadian rhythm, or that circadian cycle that you have, which is of course your sleep-wake cycle. So when that structure and like the schedule of the summer, it just loosens up a bit. You don't have school pickups, you don't necessarily have alarms, your kids might be staying up later. The sleep time, like that time frame, that timeline that you have, it can shift quite a bit, even from day to day. It could be that Monday you're in bed by 10, Thursday you're up until midnight, Saturday you slept in until 9. And every time that sleep window shifts, your body is having to adjust because you're not on that same rhythm or routine. And so for a nervous system like yours that's already working harder than it should, that can cost you a lot of energy that you don't necessarily have. So what could the one small change, if you notice, okay, I really think this is what is going on. I am noticing that my sleep schedule is all over the place. So what could that one small change look like for you? It could just be that you anchor and have a fixed wake up time. Not your bedtime, your wake up time. So consistent time of waking up is going to be the most powerful tool that you can do for your circadian rhythm. So you don't have to be rigid about when you fall asleep. Again, if you need that flexibility with the summer and all that, that's okay. But just make sure you're getting up at the same time. Okay, then the third thing we want to talk about, which I already alluded to whenever I mentioned my one small fix, which is temperature. Okay, so the summer heat is just going to make it harder on your body. It's harder for that core body temperature to drop at night, which is what your body needs to get into that deep restorative sleep. So obviously I mentioned for me, this shows up in my Oura Ring data, but you don't need an Oura Ring in order to really test this out. We know it's warmer in the summer. And if you know that your sleep quality is really lacking and you've realized, okay, I am noticing I'm getting warmer at night, maybe I'm waking up sweating, or I know my light is locked in, I know I'm waking up at the same time, then maybe you test out the temperature thing. So, again, whenever I sleep warm, I just notice that my sleep quality is much worse. And I think most of us can agree and say that that is true for us as well. And the fix does not have to be some kind of complicated thing. Have a fan pointed on you, wear lighter clothing to bed, whatever it is that works best for you. You could also have lighter blankets on your bed as well. If you want to bump the thermostat down a little bit earlier in the evening just to make things cooler in the house, that can also work really well. The goal is just to give your body those cooler conditions that it needs in order to get into that really deep restorative sleep. And as always, you don't need to focus on all three of these things. Pick one, the one that sounds the most like what is going on with you right now, and then focus on that one thing. Okay, now I want to dig a little bit more into your child's sleep. And then we'll talk a little bit also about why it affects yours. Although to be honest, I think most of us, we obviously understand some of the relationship. If your child is not sleeping, you are likely not sleeping either. Okay, this is the part that I really want you to sit with a bit, is because when you have a neurodivergent child, your kid's sleep can be one of the biggest variables in your own sleep quality. And again, I think most of us who have neurodivergent kids, we know this to be true. When your child is dysregulated at bedtime, resisting, escalating, coming out of their room 3 different times, or wired when they should be winding down, we experience that at our house a lot with a kid. Your nervous system is right there with them. You cannot fully settle down and unwind while their nervous system is still ramped up. And the other thing is, many neurodivergent kids, they have a harder time producing melatonin. on their own schedule, or really like a child who is neurotypical would. The brain that is running fast during the day, that really creative or pattern seeking, sensory noticing brain, it doesn't necessarily just switch off at 8 o'clock and it's ready to wind down and go to bed. It needs more runway, more transition time, more cues that it's time to go to bed, and more predictability. And the other thing I want to talk about, which I feel like almost anytime I talk about our neurodivergent kids, I talk about this, but co-regulation. Your nervous system is going to set the tone at bedtime. If you come into the room stressed, irritable, rushing because you're exhausted and you just need them to go to sleep, they feel that. Their already dysregulated nervous system is going to pick up on it and it's going to match it. I can imagine that most of you have experienced this, a time when you were just completely exhausted and you just needed them to go to sleep. And whether you intended to or not, that definitely came through in how you approach bedtime. And it felt like the last thing they wanted to do was go to sleep. Or if you can think of a time whenever you walked in and you just realized, okay, if this takes an hour, it takes an hour. We're doing this. And you just have a very calm, like accepting attitude about it. And isn't that often the times when they're able to wind down faster and go right to sleep? So it's such a huge piece for them. Obviously, yes, we know there are biological things going on. They do struggle to produce melatonin. And so we know they're going to need more cues, more signals to their body to produce melatonin. But one small thing that we can do is to slow down, is to make sure we're not bringing that rushed, frustrated attitude to bedtime. Because the faster you're trying to move, a lot of times the longer bedtime is actually going to take. So we're actually really just working against ourselves by trying to rush, by getting a bit exasperated because we just want to sleep, which is understandable, but it's really just working against ourselves. Okay, so what could the 1% or one small change for your kid look like? I would say build one small transition before that transition into like a bedtime routine. Again, this doesn't have to be some kind of huge routine, but just one little buffer thing, something that's going to signal consistently over time that the day is done. So it might be 5 minutes of low lights and quiet. It could be that you might be playing soft music. Honestly, dimming the lights and also playing soft music sounds great to me. It could be that you are applying a magnesium cream before bed. That is a great wind down signal as well. I do make my own magnesium cream that I sell, so I will post a link of that in the show notes below if you guys are wanting to try that out. We have used magnesium cream for years and do find that to be very helpful as well. But just giving them some kind of that signal before, it's not like we're not in the bedtime routine. It's some kind of signal. Again, lowering the lights, making sure we're cutting off, like, okay, there's no screens at this time, and then we're dimming the lights and we're playing soft music. We might be doing the magnesium cream on the back, just giving their body those additional cues. They may need the extra cues that it is time for bed. And obviously any kind of sleep hygiene stuff that we talk about. So making sure that they're not too warm, making sure that they're in a dark room if they allow that. I know kids don't always want to sleep in a dark room. Anything that can help with their own sleep hygiene is only going to improve their sleep quality. Okay, so what I want to say is, whatever you choose, though, the point is to be consistent. Those kids who are neurodivergent, they need to know what's coming next. And that repeated physical routine or signal at bedtime, that is something predictable. It's something that is calm. And it can really do a lot to work towards helping their body to wind down for bedtime. Honestly, that physical signal is going to be likely more effective than any kind of words or reminders would be. And then when their nervous system gets that signal earlier, guess what? Yours also is able to downshift and regulate more so than you're not coming into bedtime frustrated and overwhelmed and aggravated. Okay, so the thing I want you to remember about sleep in the summer is this. Again, with anything, being perfect is not the goal. Honestly, perfect really isn't even possible. Your schedule is flexible, the days are longer, the house is operating in a completely different way. So what is possible for you? What is that one small thing, 1% better than last week that you can do? Maybe it's a cooler house. one consistent wake up time, one transition buffer for your kid to give them that additional signal that it is time for bed. That is enough. Focus on that one thing and see what it can do for you. Okay, so I just want to recap and bring this all together before I end the episode. So we talked about why summer specifically disrupts your sleep. The late nights, the schedule shifting, the heat, and why all of those things are working against your body right now, even if you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to do everything right and I still feel like I'm struggling with sleep. We also talked about how with a child who is neurodivergent, their nervous system is often dysregulated at bedtime, their body's struggling to produce melatonin, and you are also struggling with your own nervous system at bedtime because you're exhausted and you want to sleep. And adding one additional transition or safety signal, or really sleep signal, that transition buffer before it's time to get into the bedtime routine, can really change the whole tone and how your wind down and sleep time goes for your kids. So really for you, it's deciding what is the one thing that you're going to do for yourself. Is it going to be that you're anchoring your wake up time, darkening your room, cooling it down? And then for your kid, what is the one consistent transition signal that you are giving them, or you're going to start adding consistently over time? And remember, with them, it's always going to be about the consistency over time. So you're probably not going to notice something right away, depending on what you choose. Obviously, I do think lights out or dimming lights earlier, I do notice an immediate impact with that. So if that's what you choose, you might. But giving them that one transition signal that lets their nervous system know and really gives their body that cue that it is time for us to wind down and go to sleep. Pick one. That is the whole focus and point of this episode. Okay, friends. So I want you to share the one thing that you pick for yourself and for your child, both. And then just first and foremost, head over to our free Facebook community. I will have that link down in the show notes below, and share with us what the one thing is. But then also, I want to hear how it's going. Share with us what the one thing is, and then update us on how that one change is going for you. Okay, friends, that is all for this episode. I will see you back on Thursday. I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.